Alright. Hello, cool and attractive humans. This video is more of a first playthrough video, so if you want like a brief overview of what Pencilvillage is, check out the other one on pencilvillage.org. Cool, so let's dive right in. Pencilvillage is a town building, dungeon delving strategy game, and we're just going to run through maybe 10 or 15 rounds, we'll see how it goes. Just so you can use this video to jump into the game quickly. So let's start with the selections. We have to choose an objective and a character. Those are not optional. Mods are very exciting. They excite me greatly, but we're going to skip out on mods for this run. So objective and character. How about never lose to an attack? That sounds good. We can try and build a force that never is defeated. Your town gets attacked, you'll see. And then we need to choose a character, and I think we should just start with an easy one, so it's not too fiddly. In fact, this is probably the most vanilla character, so we'll go with Hayat Ekram, Royal Strategist. So you can see the minus denotes a negative effect, and the positive is a good effect. So he's a little bit worse at looting stuff from dungeons, but he is better at defending the village than usual. And he has a field affinity. Affinity is a really important mechanic in this game because building costs no actions. You're going to build like at least 20 buildings in each game, so having them cost no actions is so cool. And then this, of course, incentivizes you to build most of your stuff on field, which gives each of the characters a really different flavor depending on the map. So we're just gonna, I may have prepared in advance a little bit over here. We've got Hayat Ekram, and he likes fields, just noted that there. The objective here is not to lose to an attack, and of course he's got extra defense, so we've noted that with a little +2 there. We'll remember that he's always slightly better at defending. And then over here on the loot, we've got a -1 there. So he's a little bit worse at getting fat loots, but that's alright. Cool. Maybe we should just have a quick look at the basic buildings so you have some idea of what we're looking at here. The barracks allows you to defend yourself. The farm allows you to build more buildings. You get stuck every 6 buildings unless you build a farm. The house allows you to get people. These dots are for people, so people work in each building, right? The house gives you the action that allows you to gain those people. And then we've got the mill, that's how you get wood. And then here at tier 2, which you get to by paying 4 wood and upgrading the town center 1, we've got an outpost, that's another defensive building. We've got a stables, that's a future-proofing building. It lets you move further when you're questing. We've got a depot, which lets you store more resources. We'll check that out now. And the quarry, which is basically a mill, but for stone. So here we've got the storage areas. The default way to do this, default in inverted commas, is to use dice and then just put them on these squares with the face facing up of how many resources you've got stored. So if you've got 2 wood, you put a 2 there. If you've got 3 wood, you put a 3 there. You spend the 3 wood, you just take it off. So for me, I've found that this is the slickest way to do it, but you can use tokens, you can use coins, you can just write a number there and raise it, whatever works for you, man. And then down here, we have how depots interact here. So on the left, you can store a maximum of 4. So if I had 3 here, and I wanted to gain another 2, I couldn't go up to 5, I would only go up to 4. But you can increase the storage on the left up to 6 when you build your first depot, and then when you build more depots, you increase the storage on the right from 0 to 2 to 4, and then up to 6 as well. So eventually when you have 4 depots, you can store 12 wood, and then those are for wood, those are for stone, and those are for gold. So it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, what else do we need to talk about here? We will get into events when we get into them. Okay, so we've decided on our setup and on our character. Now I must talk you through where to put our first building. So when we start the game, we get a town center 1, and that's kind of the heart of the whole enterprise. But as we know, we have a field affinity. So these blades here are field. This empty terrain is called scrub. These rocks are called rocky, and these trees are called woods. And then this spiky stuff is called crag. Like, we cannot build on crag. That's why crag is so dark. It's just letting you know that, nope, that's off limits for building. But we know that field is the affinity that we have on Hyatt, right? Sorry, out of frame. Yeah. The affinity that he has is field. So we want to save a whole bunch of actions and build as much as we can on field. This is a little bit easier said than done because of the way the terrain is shaped. But there's lots of spacing here, so we can get some in there, we can get some in there. And then the other consideration, of course, is that mill requires woods, right? And the quarry requires rocky. So we do need some access to these terrain types. The farm, which lets you build more buildings, requires field. So there are some constraints like that. So we can't just stay in field. We need to have a bit of access to every terrain type. Okay, and then the last consideration that we must think about is, you've probably noticed these downward facing triangles. Those are portals to the underworld. They line up like 1-to-1, right? So those two line up with those two. Is that in frame? Yes. So if you have a building next to this entrance, then you're going to have really easy access to this part of this dungeon, the Seeping Crypt. So building buildings out and getting buildings near entrances is beneficial, because then you have more options to delve into these interesting depths. So that's the questing layer. We'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, so question 1 is, where do we put our town center? I think somewhere around here is a good idea, because we want quick access to the woods and reasonably fast access to some stone for our quarry. And there's stone down here. So I'm just gonna drop a town center in here. I am not much of an artist, so forgive my crude drawings. Cool, that is the town center 1. And of course we need to gain wood. We're gonna gain 3 wood. Right, so we've got 3 wood stored. And we need to gain some people over here. So here on this population track, I'm just going to grab some peeps. Now the first population is going to work immediately in the town center. That's what that tick is for. It's the pre-tick tick for the town center that you start with. But we have 4 unemployed population who can work in the next 4 buildings, right? So that'll come in quite handy, I think. Okay, so now that you know resource-wise, we got 3 wood and 5 population, and layout-wise, we have a building there. It is time to think about what we want to do. And this is a really surprisingly open-ended game for how small it is. You can kind of build what you want, right? It's up to you to pick which route you want to take to get there. The guiding force in the game is really the objective, ours being never lose to an attack, and that gives you kind of like a main direction to go with your town's growth, but it's not really restricting, because you could rush for gold quickly, and that's valid because barracks get super gold reliant, or you could just spam outposts, or you could not worry so much about military. You could get a really powerful economic engine up first, and then really hope that the military side of things doesn't collapse in the meantime. So we're gonna use our objective as our guiding star here. We never want to lose to an attack, so we're gonna focus on making sure that our defensive systems are really tip-top, and that really comes down to the barracks and the outpost. Okay, so now that we've gained our P and we've placed our first building, it's time to play. So the game takes place over 30 rounds, and each round you get 3 actions. And the basic gameplay loop is incredibly simple. You only have to do 3 things. Thing number one, you have to cross off the round counter. This is important because you need to keep track of where you are in the game. Okay, so we just cross off the first one. That's the first of 30 rounds, done. And then we're going to roll for event. You can see the event table here. Right in the middle. So you can see the trade actions here involve things like lose 2 stone to gain 4 wood, lose 4 wood to gain 2 stone. And down here you can trade for gold, but only when you get the 7, right? Unfortunately, we can't really do any of these right now, so the trade isn't useful to us. Cool, so number 1, cross off the round. Number 2, roll 2d6 for event. We've done the event for this round. I should point out that there is no attack in the first 3 rounds of the game. So the first 3 rounds are relaxed, you don't need to stress about attacks. And then number 3 is to spend our actions. So as I said, we have 3 actions each round, right? I really like to track these on my hand, on my left hand. I'm right-handed. So I'll keep the fingers up usually, and then I'll sort of take them down as I use the action. So I won't keep that in frame, but just you can do it however you want, but for me that's been a really useful way to keep track of how much stuff we can do. Cool, so we've got our town hall here, and what do we want to do? We have 2 more rounds, like that's a total of 9 actions before we're going to get attacked. So rushing straight to a barracks is maybe a little bit of overkill. I think getting a mill up is definitely the priority here, because every building that we can construct relies on wood, so we really need to get some wood. We had foresight in this regard, and we put our town center right next to some woods, which of course the mill requires. But it costs 4 wood. The stuff in brackets here is for each duplicate building that you build. So the first mill is just 4 wood, but the second mill is 4 wood plus 2 wood, 3 stone. So the second mill costs 6 wood, 3 stone. And the third mill costs 8 wood, 6 stone, right? So the third mill costs this stuff twice, and the base cost once. And the fourth mill costs this stuff 3 times, and this stuff once. So they get really expensive as you stack them. So you're incentivized to go somewhere in the middle, like 2 or 3, or maybe 1 if you want a really low economy game and just speed rush to other stuff. These paths are all viable, but we definitely want a mill right now. So the base cost here, the cost we have to pay for the first one, is 4 wood. You may recall that we have 3 wood, so that's not going to cut it. Fortunately, there's an action on the town center to gain a wood. So our first action here pretty much needs to be gain an extra wood. So the 3 goes up to 4. That was our first action. We've still got 2 more. Let's build a mill. To build a structure in this game is incredibly simple. You need to do, again, 3 things. So number 1 is lose the money. There goes our 4 wood. Number 2 is cross off 2 boxes. So 1 over there, and that's just kind of a reminder, so when you're looking at the mill, you know how many you have. And then 1 down here, and that is the building that we're using, right? So that population, that citizen who lives in the village and works in the village, is now working inside the mill. So they are occupied and used up as a resource. And then the third thing, of course, is to draw the building. So you can rotate, you can mirror, you can pretty much any orientation. However, buildings need to be adjacent, and this is the sense in which adjacency works in this game. So you'll see more examples as I go along, but basically it needs to be 1 tile away, so not touching, and not further than 1 tile away. So I couldn't have put it like there. It needs to be right one tile distant. And you only have to be adjacent to 1 building when you build. So once I've got these 2 down, I could build my next one there, adjacent to just that one, there, adjacent to just that one, there, adjacent to just that one, or there in the middle, adjacent to both of them. It needs to be adjacent to at least 1. This is all detailed in the rules. But now we have our lumber mill, right? So we spent 1 action to get that extra wood. We spent our second action to build. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do that for free because we have fields affinity, not woods affinity. Now we have another action. Why not use it to get some more wood? So the action on the mill is to gain 3 wood per mill, right? And that's a flat effect. You don't have to roll any dice, you don't have to fiddle, it's just you gain 3 wood. So grab a die, put it there, Cool. Our maximum storage is 4, which is kind of awkward. And we should think about improving that, because if we have 3 wood now, for example, and we use the mills action again, we're going to go from 3 to 4. We're going to get a whole 1 wood out of its action. So we can really improve efficiency there by getting a depot down. But for the time being, our first round, we've gotten a mill down and we've pushed our wood reserves back up. So that sounds pretty good. Cool, so that was 1 round of the game. To give you some impression of the speed here, like, maybe it looks a bit confusing if you're not used to it, but it gets really, really, really slick. So my normal game time is around 45 minutes, but I've put the standard time as an hour. So yeah, the first couple of games you play, probably going to take some time to get used to how things work, but it really falls into a very nice rhythm once you're used to it. Cool, so mill down. That was our first round. We come back here to the round counter, of course. This is where we start. Now we're going to start round 2 by crossing it off. We need to figure out what the event is. Ooh, that was a good roll. So here, 11, 2 extra actions this round. So normally you get 3 actions per round, but now we're getting 5 actions. So that's really going to boost our start. We're going to be able to do a whole bunch of stuff. Sounds good. And then the last thing to do is just to take those actions. So let's look at the map again. Just so I don't have to fiddle with this die, I'm going to track resources up here. Is that in frame? That's in frame. So wood, and then I'll put stone and gold next to it. Yeah, because I'm moving papers around here. Okay, so now we have to figure out what we want to go for next. So back to the list of delicious treats. Yeah, we definitely want to have a barracks down by the time that attacks hit, or we lose on our never lose to an attack objective. So I think that is probably the next priority. Like, it's a little bit early. Maybe for a smoother run we would grab a house first, but I think we really need to lock down that barracks so we can make sure that we have an answer to the inevitable attacks that plague our village. Of course, the barracks costs 4 wood, and we have 3 wood. So, 5 actions. We'll spend one of the actions grabbing another 3 wood, but of course it only goes up to 4 wood because that's what our storage can handle. Then our next action in inverted commas is to build our barracks. But if we do it on field, then we don't have to spend an action, right? So we've still got 4 actions left, but we're going to build the barracks. It's not going to cost an action. So we'll spend the 4 wood. We will mark off the building. We will mark it off down here. Each barracks gives you d6 on defense rolls. And then we will draw it. And I'm going to be heading down here on the map towards the rocks, because I know that we want to build a quarry pretty soon. So let's just put it there. And a good idea is to write the tier of each structure on it. That's because when you lose structures, you have to lose from the highest tier. So it just lets you know, you can just look around and go, okay, there are my 3s. I can ignore all the rest and lose one of the 3s. Cool. So we've built our barracks, and we still have 4 actions left. So this is going to be an insanely valuable turn. We can now future-proof with a farm. That's probably useful. But I think it's about time we get the house situation sorted out, because we have no way to gain people at the moment, and we only have 2 building slots left. So it's kind of critical that we get a house out. And the first tier house, the first house you build only costs 2 wood. Like, that's nothing. Cool. So let's use another action. This is our second of 5 actions to grab 3 wood. Okay, we got 3 wood. And then we'll build a house. But again, we'll do it on the field, so it won't cost any actions. So I'm going to put it here. Of course, that's going to cost us 2 wood. And then on here, we need to make sure that we take that. And that we take that. You can do the stuff for building in any order, but you should probably spend the money and cross the boxes first, because otherwise you'll forget if you're anything like me. So again, the only part of that cost actions was getting the wood. Building the structure didn't cost actions because it's on our the terrain that we have affinity for. And we ended up with a wood left over. Cool, so now we have another action available to us, which is gain P per house. So for each house we have, that action will give us 1 P, which is super useful. The next house is unfortunately going to cost us 5 wood, so we can't do that until we have more storage with the depot. But 1 house is still very useful. Next, we don't quite need a farm yet, so I think it's time that we go for the town center upgrade. You can see here, if you take an action and you pay 4 wood, then you get to upgrade it. Sounds good. Okay, so we have 1 wood. That's pretty tidy. If we spend our 3rd out of 5 actions, getting up to, where did 4 go? There we go, 4 wood. And then we spend an action and pay 4 wood, so that's 4 out of 5 actions spent. We can upgrade our town center. When you upgrade a town center, it doesn't take up a slot, right? That first building is your town center. So that we only need to tick 1 box here. And of course we've paid the stone. And when your town center is upgraded, it becomes a little bit bigger. All right, so it now extends down there and it's actually size 2. Cool. The major benefit to upgrading your town center is that you get access to the next tier of buildings. So we've got 4 more buildings that we can build now. But you'll see on the side here, there's also a little gain stone. Now a quarry is a much better way to gain stone because you get 2 stones per action, and then once you have multiple quarries you get loads of stones per action. But you can grab a single stone here, and that is situationally useful in some cases. It's a tricky one. Cool, so in this ridiculous 5 action turn, we still have an action left, and we need to think about where we want to go. Stables is maybe a bit premature because we want to make sure that our economy and military are bedded down before we start pushing for the cool stuff that questing can provide. So somewhere around here. Another option, of course, is to push for our 2nd mill, because getting 6 wood per action is incredibly valuable. Yeah, tempting. I think maybe the quarry is the first move, because we need stone here and we need stone for our 2nd mill, and we already have a barracks, so we're reasonably safe for the initial attacks, although we do want to get an outpost out as soon as we can. That, of course, requires a quarry. So I think, like, we could use 2 town center 2 actions to gain 2 stones and then get that outpost out immediately, and that would be the safest move, right, given our objective. But I want to play it a little bit risky here and go for a quarry, because it's so valuable for the economic side of things. So the quarry requires rocky, and its cost is exactly the same as the mill. So the first one we just need 4 wood for, right? We recall we have 1 action left. I'm holding it on my left hand. So I'm just going to start off, I'm going to end round 2 by using our mills action to get us another 3 wood. So boom, that's the 5th action, and we're on our way to grabbing our quarry. Cool beans. Yes, so now we are in round number 3, and we're still safe from attacks, so that's pretty cool. Let's do the event roll. Oh, another good one. So 1 extra action this round. Okay, this has gone very smoothly. So instead of the normal 3 actions, we are going to take a 4 action round. Very nice, very nice. Okay, so we want to get that quarry down. Hopefully I have not messed anything up here. Yeah, we have space to place it that is also adjacent to one of our buildings here. So that's good. It costs 4 wood, of course, so we have to use 1 of our 4 actions on bringing this up to 4. And then let's use another action on actually building the thing, because again, rocky is not our preferred terrain, so we have to actually spend this action to do the build. So 4 wood goes away. We cross off the quarry. we cross off the last open building slot. We don't have people for any more. And we build our quarry. And that is a tier 2 building. Okay, so now we have our quarry down, and that's really valuable because access to stone is like super important at this point because it's going to give us all of the cool techie buildings that we need. Of course, we have a problem because we are out of P, so we cannot build anything more, right? We can't build buildings until we have P. So I'm going to spend an action, and I'm going to use the house action to gain P per house. So we just spent a whole action to gain 1 P, and then we don't have any resources, so we couldn't really build it anyway. We have an interesting decision here, because the outpost fulfills our objective better, but the depot gives us access to a world of cool stuff, because storage is at a premium right now. But I'm in the spirit of the objective, I'm going to go for the outpost first, to just really make sure that we don't get messed up on a bad roll from our barracks D6. So if we wanted to go for the outpost, we would need 2 stone. We have no stone, so I'm going to use our last action on gaining 2 stone, right? And that's again just a simple use the action, bam, now we have 2 stone. So I'm just remembering which of these dice is which at this point. It's for video, guys. Okay, that was a very effective round 3. Now we are entering the danger zone, so we'll see if it gets exciting. We managed, because now we're at risk of getting attacked, right? We managed to get a barracks out, which is good. We didn't quite get an outpost out, but I mean, we did really well because we had a giant pile of actions. But now we are at the mercy of randomness. Cool, so that's our 2 stone. It's taking it out of frame. Yeah. So now we cross off round 4. You can see the threat here is 0. So if we do roll attacks here, 0, 1, 2, 4, 7, they're just going to be that number, what they are, right? Because they're not modified. When threat goes up, then these also go up along with it. So let's see. Damn, we are very good at this luck thing. So 8 is, again, it's another extra action, so that is very smooth sailing. Okay, back to the map. Cool, so we have this 2 stone sitting around, and I think we should go for the outpost, because that's the safe maneuver. But we also need to think about layout here, because we've reached the stone, and we're very close to this underworld entrance. So I think it's time to maybe go off along here and grab that entrance, because the Dwemer depths have some really valuable loot in them. Yeah, so let's do that. So we want to build an outpost, and we have the stone to do it. Cool, so because we rolled an 8, we have an extra action this round. So that's 4 actions, which is ridiculous. So let us start off by spending the 2 stone that we got at the end of last round on building an outpost. Okay, we need to, of course, cross off that, and cross off the outpost tick, and lose the 2 stone. Cool, and that didn't even cost us an action, right? Because again, we're on field. Fields are the terrain for which we have affinity. So we're looking really good. And when we get attacked, we're going to roll d6 plus 2. That's pretty cozy. So I have 4 actions. So now we need to think about what we want to go for. I think it's depot time, because moving storage from 4 to 6 gives us a lot of options with building second mills, second quarries, and having them actually be useful. Yeah, so let's go for a depot. Sorry, do excuse me. Yes, so 1 action to get the 2 stone, but we find ourselves out of slots to build buildings in. So fortunately, we can just put another person here, but we have a people situation that we need to really think about long term. So I'm just going to spend another action to grab a person here, right? So that'll sort us out in the short term. And now we have 2 stone and we have an empty building slot, so we can get our depot down, which is fantastic news. I'm going to, of course, build it on field so we don't spend an action. So let's start with that and that, and lose the stone, and let's put it there. Okay, so we have a depot, and now that means that all of our storages have increased from 4 to 6. We can store 6 stone and 6 wood, which is going to mean that building more mills and quarries will be useful. This is quite a cool thing. We still have 2 actions left, however. I think maybe it's time that we dealt with this issue here. We just simply can't build more buildings, right? So we definitely need a farm. But I'm thinking maybe another house as well, just so that we can fill these up 2 at a time, only spending 1 action each time. But let's start with the farm. The farm requires 3 wood. Okay, well, I know a building that can sort us out there. So we've got 2 actions left. Let's spend 1 of them to grab 3 wood now. And then let's build a farm, which doesn't even cost an action, because we have to do the farm entirely on field. So let's put it here. Cool, we lose the wood. And the farm, like the town center, is an exception. There's no tick over here. There's no tick over here. It doesn't consume a building spot. It only creates a building spot. So when you build a farm, you only cross off that spot. You don't have to add a building cross, but this is noted. Cool, so that's looking pretty good. We now have spaces for another 6 buildings. Another thing that we should think about is this building. This is the overseer. And this basically, it sounds complicated, but it just activates the quarry, the mill, and the house at the same time. So another route that's pretty efficient is to just not worry about immediately going for 2 mills and 2 quarries and get the overseer down quickly, because then you're getting a lot of bang for each action. So that is on the table. It's very tempting. But I'm not going to do it that way around. I'm going to try and get more mills and quarries up first. Okay, cool. So we need to decide on our next building target. And again, as our objective is never lose to an attack, it's probably a good idea to rush out another outpost before we improve our machine over here. Or do we want to play it risky because we have, a free extra 2 defense based on our character Hayat? Let's go a bit risky. This is this is the push your luck aspect. It's really nice to build up a big economic machine, but if we lose to a single attack, our objective cannot be fulfilled and we're out of the game. So let's live dangerously. What is more useful, a second mill first or a second quarry first? They're pretty equivalent. Maybe we should just start with the mill, because there are some big wood sinks. Okay, so for the second mill, we're going to need that plus that, right? So that comes to 6 wood and 3 stone. That is something we now have storage for, right? We didn't before when the storage caps were 4. So we just have to kind of drag ourselves there. So I will use our last action of round 4 to grab 3 wood and get on our way there. Cool. Sorted. Now let's go on to round 5 and roll event. 6. Look, it says attack. It is the first danger zone. Okay, so let me explain some things here. Anytime you're attacked, if you do not defend successfully, like if your number doesn't exceed the attack number, your defense number doesn't exceed the attack number, not only do you suffer the penalty in brackets here, so P means you lose a P, we have to erase one of those circles down there in P, and we lose a wood, right? So that's annoying, but not the end of the world. But also, anytime you lose an attack, you have to lose a building. So there's a lost tracker here, right? And you cross off one of these each time you lose a building. And you can think of them like lives. You have 5 lives. When you lose your 5th building, you lose the game. There are things that change that, but in general, that's the amount of loss your village can take before everyone just gives up on it. So whatever the attack is, even if it's a low consequence in terms of these, losing a life is still a big deal, even if you're not playing with our particular objective. So you kind of want to match your defensive capability to the curve of the increasing attacks throughout the game, because losing lives at any point is a problem. Of course, that's not strictly true. Like, in some sense, the first 4 building losses cost nothing, and the last one costs everything. So you could ignore defense for the first 5 rounds, build up a completely powerful economy, and then suddenly mass defense, and you might be fine. So yeah, there's strategic space here. Okay, so we're getting attacked. It's attack 0. This is the lowest consequence attack of lowest consequence attacks, because the threat is 0. So the number that we're being attacked with is 0, right? It's just 0. We have to exceed it. This is going to happen whatever we do, but I just want to show you the process. We've got a d6, we've got 2 flat from our outpost, and we've got 2 from being Hayat Ekram. So that's 4 flat plus whatever the d6 produces. So let's see what that is. Wow, that's a 6. So 6 plus 4 is 10. The attack is 0. So 10 beats 0. We defend the attack, we don't lose that, we don't lose the building. But you can see how if you roll 2 1s on the event, attack 7, that gets a little hairy. Okay, so event is all good. We're back to normal length rounds here. Those were not representative rounds. We got 3 actions. So we've got 3 wood, we know what we're doing, we're going for a second mill, so let's just get some more stuff for it. First action will be to gain another 3 wood. Right, so now we have the 6 wood required. Second action will be to gain 2 stone. Right, and that's not quite enough because we need 3 stone. So the third action will be to gain another 2 stone. And now we have enough stone. Now, for free actions, like say we had Woods Affinity, you can spend all 3 of your actions and then take a free action. Like, you can take free actions at any point in your turn. But we don't have Woods Affinity, so even though we have the resources, we can't sneak in a free build here. It would be nice. But you can see that turn was just getting resources, so it took no sort of time, really. And now we are on to round 6. Let's roll an event. Ooh, that was almost spicy, but then not. 7 is trade again, and you'll see here, if you lose 5 wood and 3 stone, you can gain a gold. Now, if you have a look here at the barracks, it costs 4 stone and a gold, and gold is kind of like a blocking resource in this game. It's really hard to get. So the correct move at this point is probably to take this trade and grab a gold. I'm not going to do it because I have a different route for this game, but here is like an interesting strategic point, right? Because it would also knock us back in terms of getting our economy at a useful point. But gold, man, it's really valuable. Getting the second barracks up takes ages, usually. So having a trade rolled at a time when we have lots of resources stockpiled, it's a really cool opportunity. Anyway, that's just a thought. So we've rolled a 7, we're not going to make use of the trade, and we'll skip out on the barracks. Back to our constructions. This is a normal round, so we only have 3 actions. It's time to build our second mill. So that's 6 wood, 3 stone. We'll take the 6 wood off, and we'll reduce our stone down to 1. Okay. And then we need to cross off things. And I've cheated. That shows how well I keep track of things. So let's just rewind that. I thought for some reason that we had gained the P involved, right? So we built the farm, but we still need a person there. So we'll spend the first of our 3 actions gaining the P. Now we can actually build the thing. The second of our 3 actions constructing the mill. So that's those 6 and those 3 there. And let's mark off the mill there. And let's mark off the mill there. And now we can build it. It needs to be wooded, of course. But we can even use this to get a little bit closer to where we're going. If we put it like so. Huh? Nifty, nifty. Cool. And now, because the mill text says action gain 3 wood per mill, when we use this action, we're going to get 6 wood at once. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. We still have an action left. What shall we do with it? I think getting that next house down quickly might be quite a good idea, because we are burning actions here. So I'm going to use the last action of this round to grab another P and probably make that building a house. This one is a stone, of course. Cool, that's the end of that round. We go on to round 7. Roll event. It's taunting us at this point with another 7, but we don't have the resource to make any trades. And now, yeah, I think we should go for another house. And we're in a pretty good position to do it, because it's all wood, right? But we have 2 mills, so check this out. 3 actions. First action is to get 6 wood. Dunk. Giant pile of wood. Second action is to build a house for 5 wood. So that wood count will go down to 1. We cross that off. We cross that off. And let's build our house. Maybe there-ishly. Ooh, that was hideous. But it's a house. Looks like a house. Ish. And of course that didn't cost an action again because it's on our favorite terrain type. And we still have an action left, and let's use it to activate both houses. So our houses activate, and they give us not 1, but 2 P. And that's great, right? Now we can see the engine is starting to get up to speed. Okay, and we're sitting with a wood and a stone left. So that's the end of that round. Next round. Wow. I mean, it is the most probable result, but it's like 14% or something. Alright. Okay, cool. So, what do we want to do now, options-wise? We could definitely get another outpost quite easily. And we do have that don't lose to an attack objective. Yeah, let's rein in the greed just a little bit and grab that outpost. So it requires the base cost of 2 stone and 4 wood. So that's not really crazy. It's going to cost a few actions, unfortunately, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, so we've got 3 actions. We'll use the first one to gain 6 wood. Because we already have a wood here, it's not going to take us to 7. It's just going to take us to 6, right? Like, we can't go above our limit of 6, so that's our first action. We'll use our second action to gain 2 stone. So we're now on 3 stone. And now you might think that, okay, cool, we can just build an outpost for free. But because each outpost wants to be on different terrain, and we built our first outpost, where did it go? There, on our favored terrain. We now have to delve into terrain that we don't like, right? So that just means that we have to spend an action building on it. And I mean, quite conveniently here, we have a patch of scrub that also gets us close to our destination. So maybe we should just build it here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So let us take our last action, and 2 stone 4 wood is the outpost cost. So that goes down to 1, and that goes down to 2. Alright, makes sense. And then trackers, of course. That's the general tracker, that's the outpost tracker. So now we're getting really beefy in our defense. And we will drop the outpost here. And that's tier 2, right? Yeah. Alright. Not too shabby. Cool, next round. Are you starting to see how the rounds get quick? I'm talking through a lot of my thought process here, but I swear, it's a very fast game. Woo! I did not rig these dice, I promise. Okay, that's 8. That means we get 1 extra action this round. So we got another big round of 4 actions. That's pretty cool. So as I was saying, we're getting our economic machine kind of almost there, right? We got 2 houses, 2 mills. I say we go for a second quarry and then get the overseers down. Yeah, that's probably the slickest angle here. Okay, so 4 actions. 4 actions. Can we do it? Can we do it? Yeah, I think we can. Cool, so 4 actions. Number 1 will get us up to 6 wood. Number 2 will get us up to 3 stone. We don't actually need another person. That's great. Okay, so we've already fulfilled the cost, which is 6 wood, 3 stone. Now we have to look at placement, because placement's always the tricky one. Yeah, we don't actually have a spot to place it. So if you look over here, I could have thought this through better, potentially. If I had moved this 1 spot over to the right, like the edge was there, it would still have been proximate to this, but I would have been able to drop the other quarry here. But as it stands, I cannot fit that shape into here and have it still be adjacent. Wait, I can. Topology wizardry. I just spotted. Okay, yeah, it goes there. Very nice, very nice. Cool. So we've got 2 actions left. We're going to spend 1 of them building. So we lose all of our 6 wood and 3 stone. See that? We're losing those. And then we build up, we cross off the check boxes there and there. And then we build our quarry. My art is getting worse and worse. Cool. Very nice. So we just got our second quarry down, and now we can produce 4 stone at a time. That is really, really useful. Okay. And we still have an action left, so what are we going to use it on? Well, what is our next objective? I think we want to be looking at Tech 3, right? Because we want to get those overseers, and then we want to get the framework for questing. But if you look over here at this 8, we cannot store 8 wood at the moment. It is a big, big investment. So we need another depot. That is the next move. So the second depot is going to cost 2 stone, plus the stacking costs 2 stone, so it's going to cost 4 stone. Luckily, we can just produce 4 stone. So we'll use the last action to grab 4 stone. And there it is. Cool. Pretty chillsy. And let's go on to the next round. And let's roll on the event. We should put these in the corners. Is that a frame? Yeah, that's stone. Event. I may have rigged these dice in my sleep. That's another... I mean, this is a stressful game. You get attacked. You worry about your town dying. But apparently, when you're doing the reference game, you just roll great the whole time. So that's another 4 actions game. Which gives us, again, a giant pile of options. No, we gotta go for the depot. Okay, so if we look down here, we are running out of spots here. So let's use one of our actions to grab 2p. So now we have spots for 2 more buildings. That sounds good. And then we gotta start hoarding... Oh no, sorry, we gotta get the depot down here. So let's drop it like it's hot. Yeah, that's probably the spot. So we'll lose the 4 stone. And we will cross off depot down here. And a building over there. And we'll build it on grass, obviously, because that's favorable. Cool. So the depot is down, and we still have 3 actions remaining. That's pretty cozy. We're just gonna pile on resources so we can grab the town center upgrade. Yes. Yes, we are. Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. So let's grab resources. So with our 3 actions, this, again, we're going to be a little awkward here with hitting the breakpoints, because 1 action is going to give us 6 wood, right? That's cool. That's cool. The next action is only going to give us an extra 2, right? So that's 8 wood. And then we'll use our last action to grab 4 stone. And that's still not all the way there, because it costs 8 wood, 6 stone. So we're nearly there. We got 8 wood and 4 stone. Cool. End of the round. On to the next one. Round 11. Roll on event. Jeez. Crikey. So that's a 9. And 9s give you a little bit of everything. Just a bit all round. So the 2 wood doesn't do anything, because we're at our limit of 8. The P, hilariously, doesn't do anything, because we don't have a farm here, so we're at our limit. And the single stone does do something. We go up from 4 to 5 stone, so that's not bad. But that was a pretty low value 9 overall. Cool, so what do we need for our town center 2? We need 8 wood and 6 stone. And we have 5 stone. So let's take our 3 actions. We'll spend one of the actions gaining 4 stone, but because we have 5, it's only going to go to 8, right? So 6 plus another 2, that's our 8 stone. So now we're maxed down on both resources. Then we'll spend our next action on action, pay, and upgrade. So spend the action, all the wood's gone, most of the stone is gone, and upgrade. Again, we just do this in place. There's the 3. And per the rules, like, this part counts as a tier 3 building. So if you have no other tier 3, you're forced to downgrade your town center to tier 2, like you lose the tier 3 part. That's why I'm writing these in this way. Okay, so that was great. Now we're on tier 3, and tier 3 offers all sorts of deliciousness. For example, everything you need to quest is here in tier 3. It's a church and a guild hall is the essentials, and then the armor really helps. But a prudent strategist will focus on the overseer first. Hello again. Just a bit of a fast forward there, because the video is getting long and I want to show you questing. Yeah, so we've expanded our town a little bit. The relevant new buildings are these 3. So the stables allows us to move a little further. There it is. We're going to go questing. The church allows us to actually gain heroes, which are pretty essential. And the guild hall, like, houses heroes. It gives them a place to eat and sleep and be heroic. So you'll notice one guild hall gets you 2 slots, and then that church action gets you the heroes that go in the slots. And they're just a number. The number can go up, they get more powerful. It can also go down, and if it goes below 1, they die / are lost. And you'll notice that these cost 2 actions each. So normally you would only be able to use 1 every turn. Because, you know, getting a hero is a pretty big deal, going on a quest is a pretty big deal. So let's do the things. Round's getting pretty high there. I don't know what to say. It's extra actions all day. And that's 2 extra actions. So yeah, what I just said doesn't apply, because now we have 5 actions, so we can actually quest twice. So yeah, let's take our 2 heroes and think about where we want to go questing. So we have access to this entrance, and this entrance. So any of them really we can explore. So that'll get us down there, and these will get us either of these. So the bold numbers here are treasure chests, and when you loot a treasure chest you get to roll on the loot table, albeit at a -1, because of our character. But generally the way these are set up is there's some low-hanging fruit, and then there's some more tricky stuff as you delve deeper. So let's go for an easy one first, right? If we go in here, it's going to be very easy to get in, and there's a treasure chest right there. So let's use 2 of our 5 actions to grab that one. So we start on a tile of a building that we own, and we go 1, teleport to here, 2. Now that we've entered the aggro radius, and you can read in the rules how this works, but I'm going to fight this monster. This non-bold number is a monster. So if we look at our party, we've got 2 heroes, right? They're each at 1 power, but each hero gives you a d6. So that's pretty cool. We'll roll 2d6. That is 4. And then we add the power of all heroes involved. So 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 4 is 6. We do not beat the 7, unfortunately. So that monster defeated us. It's not necessarily the end of the world, though. We have a look at what the defeat consequences are. d6 after losing a fight. Strongest hero loses 2 power. Whew, that's pretty rough. So what that means is either hero is the strongest, loses 2 power, and when a hero goes below 1 power, they die. So we just lost a hero. So that's kind of rough. There were pretty good odds for that fight because, 2d6 against 7, like, plus 2. Yeah, but that didn't happen. So instead of questing again with our last 2 actions, I'm going to use a church action here and regain a hero. And that will go where we just erased him. And again, that costs 2 actions. With our last action, yeah, we could do economic stuff, but I want to focus on questing here, so I'm just going to leave it for now. Let's see what the event is. 6, we've got an attack of 0 again, but because we are in the threat zone, the threat is actually 5. So we've got some defensive possibilities here. The d6 is 6, plus 4 from our 2 outposts, plus 2. So that comes out to 12 defense against that threat of, well, that total attack of 5. So we're still very much fine on that front. Cool. Back to questing, we've got 3 actions, so we'll use 2 of them on the Guildhall quest action. And let's just try the same thing again. So it'll be 1 move there, teleport down here, 2 moves, and then of course fighting costs a move, so we'll have spent 3 by the time we fought this guy. And let's hope for some better rolls. There we go. That's 8 plus the 1 that they each have is a total of 10. 10 definitely beats 7. So we cross them out, we never have to fight them again. We spend 3 movement, 4 movement to get there, and we loot the chest. Doesn't cost an extra movement. But we have to cross the chest out because you can only loot each chest once on a map. So the 1 means that we start our roll a little bit higher. So whatever we roll, we're going to add 1 to. But of course we have our character modifier from Hayat, which means we roll slightly worse. So those cancel out, we're just going to get whatever's on the d6. That's a 3, and the 3 gives us 3 gems. So just keep a tally here. And gems are like the score, the high score. They don't do anything in game. But yeah, you can read about those in the rules. Cool, so that was some loot. If you're excited about gems, it was a great run. If you're not, not so much. Again, I'm going to skip the last action because I want to do some more questing. So next round. 6, that's another attack of 0. We've got 1d6 of defense, and the threat is 6, so the total attack is 6. Jeez, so that's 6 plus another 6 is 12 against the 6. Totally fine. Again, let's go on another quest. So that was some nice low-hanging fruit there. But what if we want something a little bit more juicy? Well, let's see if we can spot anything in this Briar Warren here. We have to fight a monster there. This looks pretty good though. There's a 2 down here. And we can't quite reach it actually with our movements, but let's just say we can for the sake of demonstration. So we'll go into there. You count movement from the closest tile, so it would be 1, 2. Teleport to here. We spend 2 movement. Now we have to fight this guy. So we'll roll out 2d6. The fight, that easily beats him. So that was 3. We're still here. Move there is 4. Move there is 5. Move there is 6, but we've entered a trap now. So now we have to roll a d6 for each hero. And each one we get will mean we lose a hero just outright. Traps are very dangerous. Woo! No ones. Okay. I forgot what number I was on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's fight this dude. It'll be the 10th movement. Only 7, but remember these guys have flat power that adds to it, so it'll be 7, 8, 9. And 9 is bigger than 8, so we defeat him. So that's the 10th movement. And then 11 to move on to the tile where he was, and then finally we loot. So that would have required 11 movement. We do not have 11 movement. We have 6 movement, but just for demonstration purposes. And then we'll loot that. Again, we roll loot at -1, so we can treat this 2 chest as a 1 chest. Where's the loot? There's the loot. So we got a +1 modifier. Okay, so 4 + 1 is 5, and this is an empowerment buff. Like the hero finds a sword, right? And wields it for the rest of the game. So you choose a hero and you increase their power by 1. And the hero system is as simple as can be. You just pick one of them, and their number gets bigger. So now that hero is a little bit more effective on future quests. Also, if you noticed, the armorer's text is give a different hero per armor 1 power. So like empowering your heroes is really effective because you see in the later dungeons, we got a 14 there, we got a 12 there, got some 15s in this dungeon. It gets pretty, difficult. So for a healthy adventuring force, you really want ideally more than 1 armorer sort of powering up your dudes. And then of course the more you quest, the more likely you are to grab these +2s and +3s even. So your heroes get really effective. And then you can go for those bigger chests, which get you lots of the treats that live here. Whew. Okay, hopefully that's not too long, the total length of the video. Thanks for hanging with me. It was a pleasure. And hopefully that gives you some idea of what Pencilvillage is like. Yeah, if you like it, go and buy it. Pencilvillage.org. Woo! Bye. Bye.